I can't see Jim yet.
I'd like to call the Stormwater Advisory Board to order. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Barnes?
Here.
Mr. Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Herman?
Here.
Mr. Manfredi?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Alderman Wall? Mr. Clark?
Here. Alrighty, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the March 11th, 2023 meeting minutes. Anybody have any thing with those meetings? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move approved.
Second. All right. Public comment. We have 4 people signed up to speak. Everybody, is anybody, I got 4 people, anybody else want to speak? If not, we'll limit the time to about 3 minutes. And first we have Mr. Bill Grimes, 212 Hillwood. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm a southerner. As slow as I talk, and to get my name out a couple of times, I'll be lucky in 3 minutes. Bill Grimes, Diane and I live at 212 Hillwood Drive, which is the second property downstream from where the mill apartments discharge from Pond 2. We've been there 38 years. What I wanted to just open up to you guys here is that we're experiencing considerable flooding nowadays. And if we look at what we had before, we had a 17 plus or minus acre tract, and we had about 2/3 of it was farmland, and about 1/3 of it was woodland, about 1/3 of it was fallow farmland. And if you look at the topographical maps, you'll notice that about 4 acres of the forest land drained through the area that is now used by the discharge from Pond 2. Now if we look at what we've got an apartment complex with 85% of it covered with asphalt, rooftops, concrete. And the water's collected in 3 ponds, as I understand it. Pond 1 is behind Roy's house, as we know it in the neighborhood. Pond 2 is behind the Croc house. Pond 3 is over by the concrete block tax building. The water from Pond 2 is the one that comes from ours. And as you look at its way it's laid out, of sizable acreage, well over the 4 acres that our drain was accustomed to carrying, is now draining down through there. I also understand and have problems with Pond 3. It was the discharge was being placed in a sinkhole, and the sinkhole wouldn't accommodate it, so a pipe was taken from Pond 3 to Pond 2. And the water from Pond 2 and 3 is being discharged down our area, and that even increases the acreage to more, well above what our drainage was accustomed and capable of carrying. So with all this water coming, with a higher velocity, you start the water at a 3-story apartment building, and drop it from there, and then drop it another 20 feet from the top of the ridge where the apartments are built, down to where we are, you've got considerable velocity. You've got overwhelming volume with the acreage that's being drained down through there now. The Croc house is experiencing flooding in the crawl area. It's already replaced one heating air unit. Recently, I've had water in the lower level of my house twice. When it comes across the street, it heads down my driveway. At the end of the driveway is a carport. At the end of the carport is steps that takes me down to the lower level of my house. And the water's cascading down those steps. I got out there and sandbagged it and kicked it off of the driveway. And that saved having had inches in there instead of feet. And there's 2 sinkholes that's developed in my neighbor's on the 3rd property. There's 3 properties between where the water's dropped and where it runs into a major ditch. And there's sinkholes that's forming there. It overruns them, but when the water recedes, it runs into the sinkholes, and they formed in recent months. I guess I'm here to let you know that with additional acreage, 10, 12 acres, where it's accustomed to carrying forward, is overwhelming. It's causing damage to our properties. Properties that we live in, sleep in every night, have for 38 years. So, if there's not studies made to look at the flow of water downstream from where you're releasing it, it's been released on private property. If it's not been studied and realizing that it can handle it, if it can't handle it, make corrections before the project is built. And that will save those of us that live along those streams and want to help the community feel better about what's taking place. Right now, it's discouraging to wake up and have to run out and sandbag an area to keep your house from flooding. Been there 38 years, never had to do that. So your consideration, if the study's not there, I'd highly suggest that you as an advisory board advise the city people that you need that study, especially when it goes on private property. If the study's there, may we see it. If it's not there, I suggest one be made. And the sinkholes, maybe other areas, maybe they've got sinkholes, but these have come in the last few weeks. Thank you for your time.
We have Mr. Bill Thompson, 101 Hickory Trail.
How are y'all this evening?
Good.
Again, my name is Bill Thompson. I'm in Covington Heights subdivision. Again, 101 Hickory Trail. Derek, good to see you. I'll be talking to you soon for the 4th of July celebrations. Gerald, good to see you again.
Yes,
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes, sir. It has been.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I don't want to get all I need, but to quantify my comments, I am familiar with a little bit with White House. As past chairman of the Planning Commission, vice chairman of Sumner County. Now granted, it was 15 years ago, if I remember correctly, Chief.
That's right, yes, sir.
And again, I live in Covington Heights, and I'm not sure how many of these folks are in it. I know that my neighbors across the street, few folks. I would like to think that I'm the apex. I'm on the corner of Hickory Trail and Creekwood. And my question, and again, I know some other folks have some issues downstream, and I know we've had some heavy rains that have been, let's say, extraordinary, but I go back all the way, and I'll have to defer to Sweet Sue, the Wilkinsons, I can't remember, it was before Adam McCormick. I want to say it was JR or something like that, but I'm not sure, and again, no offense to the folks downstream from me, I remember having this discussion. I don't believe that the culvert in my yard is adequate, and especially much like what Mr. Grimes was talking about now that there's been some new development. not necessarily there in Covington Heights, but the water that comes off of North Palmer's Chapel, down Hickory Trail, the houses back there, and it also affects, you know, folks, quote unquote, down or upstream, so to speak. I just, at some point, and I apologize for not being prepared, I thought when I went up to the attic to save some of that, yes, I saved some of that stuff. But I do remember, my point to all of this, the drainage ditch going under Creekwood, in my opinion, and I'll defer to the engineers and folks like that, is inadequate. It's not, again, I don't want to disparage Jimmy Brinkley when he put this neighborhood in, but I just don't think, I thought I remember that the culvert was supposed to be one size, and it's not. It's something smaller, and at some point, I'd like to, after you get through your proceedings, I'd love to follow up and see if we can go back in those records and look at those layouts and what came before the Planning Commission for Covington Heights and see what was originally planned and what we have now. And again, I apologize, I'm not addressing, you know, I got my neighbors across the street, you know, we have to deal with that water when it comes up, and I don't even want to think of the folks downstream because it's bad. And I guess my point being is can we look into seeing if what was originally planned is there, and if not, I don't believe it's working. Can we look into something to help prevent that flooding? Because it does happen a lot. And there has been property damage. I just replaced ductwork. I was fortunate enough to hang on to my air conditioner, but ductwork had to be replaced. Obviously, landscaping and things like that. But sorry I wasn't as eloquent as I should be, but that's what I'd like to look into. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Derek, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Mr. Randy?
I don't really have a lot to say. I live at 307 Walnut Court. Been there since 1991. And I get the water runoff from all of it. And this year I've got videos of it running on that culvert. It's been over the top of my mailbox from the new apartments running all down the road. I've hauled rock out of my yard that would fill this room up. Any of my neighbors would tell you that. And it seems like since the apartments have been built, we're getting a lot more runoff in that area. And I know some of the storm guys have been over there. I got the diverters for the sewer on my property, and I know they've seen it over those valves at the end of my property. That's basically all I've got to say.
Okay. Aaron?
Hello, I just wanted to first say thank you to Michael Hushin. I went to Stormwater immediately after the big flood on the 8th, and he immediately took me in and had an appointment with me and advised me, so I really appreciate the proactive approach that you're taking to this crazy month of weather that we've had. My name's Aaron McBride. I've been a 29-year resident of Sumner County. I just bought 932 Tyree Springs Road. If you've seen the Tyree Springs farm sign along there, the crazy place that used to have the big red pepper on the top, and the preceding character that used to own it as well, probably is known as well. The reason I'm here is that some of you may know that there is an access road along my property from Tyree Springs all the way back to a large water tower that is behind two homes that are behind me. The residents that have been here longer than me said that previous to that road, the runoff would just go immediately into the adjoining forest area there. Raising the road base by about 2.5 feet has created a large dam the entire length of my property. The water has no place to go as it comes down the hill. My shop was flooded 9 times, and my house on the 8th was just devastated. I am blessed to have flood insurance. This is my first farm type property, and was wise enough to get that. So Surf Pro has my entire home ripped apart right now as we have PTSD, post-traumatic storm disorder at this point. But raising that road base 2.5 feet, again, has made this gigantic dam. I've gone through this with Michael. We've taken a look at it. There's one corrugated culvert that's about 100 feet from Tire Springs Road. The White House Utility District guys that were out there that I discussed with said that the pipe was even too low. I talked to Stormwater and also White House Utility to see if they had a jetter or something to get the sediment, the roots and stuff out of that. They did not. So I took it upon myself to try to jet that out myself, and I got the poison ivy arms to prove that. That road needs more culverts along that entire spread. A dam has been created. It doesn't matter what I do to divert the water around my house, whether it be French drains or dry wells or these other solutions for that. Simply the water has no place to go on my property to leave my property. So I'm looking for solutions and support. I have discussed this with White House Utility District, and I know that this has been an overwhelming month on all of you and on our community. I understand that. But I do need solutions so that this doesn't occur again. Thank you.
We had about 6 people come in after we took the sign-in sheet, and I think we'd like to give everybody the opportunity to speak. If you walked in after 4 o'clock, if anybody wants to speak, I think we can get a couple more people. Give me your name and address.
Page Funk, 213 Woodwood Drive. Not a speaker, but my parents bought this house or built this house in the 60s. I own it now, and these apartments are ruined. Water was under the house, covered, and you can see from the pictures. I've contacted Michael Hushin time again, and he hasn't answered the last 2 emails. My house is going to get destroyed. There's over a foot of water going under the house. My aunt that lives there could be sucking in black mold, and this has been going on for 1.5 years, and nobody's done anything. I allowed them to put a drain on my property, and can't mow the yard. It's wet all the time. It's ruining Mr. Grimes' yard. It's ruining everything in the neighborhood, and it needs to be fixed. And I'm reaching out to attorneys now to try to get help, because y'all are helping.
I thank you guys for these comments. Obviously, we're, public comment, we're not set up to respond immediately, but reach out to our offices, planning and codes. Ms. Rita will get that information that you need, Mr. Thompson, pull that information, and public services, Stormwater, if you have any issues. Moving on to reports.
No, excuse me. We didn't get to private. No.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Lynn Longwell. I'm here with my husband Jay and our neighbors. We live on Hobbs Drive, right around the corner. We're from 219 Hobbs Drive. We bought our property at the end or the beginning of 2020. Had a beautiful forest in the backyard. Understand things change. Now a development. That development has put a culvert directly into my backyard, into my neighbor's yard. I understand this last month there was a lot of water, big storms. That was horrible, but this probably been going on well before that. We get a ½ inch of rain and we are flooded for a week to 2 weeks. Can't cut the grass. I have a fence in my backyard that is now halfway filled with straw and all kinds of debris that the development company has been stacking up behind to try to stop the water. They put in a huge drainage pond behind our home that doesn't hold water. Just after the last storm, we went, took pictures. I have some of them. I also have video to show you that the pond was basically empty and the water was flowing underneath it and decimating our backyard. My neighbor can't even park in his driveway. And I feel bad for the people that, thankfully, our home is sitting up high, but the problem is still a problem. It wasn't there until these homes were put in. And the excuse that I hear is, well, you had a, what do they call it, Jay? The water always naturally drained there, so you need to deal with it. It's better now. Our studies show that the water is way less than it was before we put this in. And I just want to ask you, if it was way less, do you think we'd be here complaining? I don't think so. I spoke with Mr. Hutchins. He came out to my home within the last year. Sounded like you're going to do a lot to help. You said you guys held a bond. You would make sure things were taken care of. A month later, I got an email saying, basically, it's your problem. And I felt like you said what needed to be said to make me happy at the time, but just to get me out of your hair. I now have a fence that is completely, I took pictures today. Coming up, I have dogs. My dog got out last night. I had to run all over the place looking for my dog because my fence is wrecked, and that's my problem. I didn't appreciate that, to be honest with you. And something has to be done. And I understand these people whose homes are flooding, take care of them first. But just tell me that you're going to do something. Don't just say what needs to be said to get me out of your hair. Because I promise you I'm not going to leave. And I don't know if Justin has anything to add to that. But I would like to know if something's going to be done about it.
My name is Justin Hinckley. I've owned the 221 Hobbs Drive. This year makes 9 years. And before the development behind Hobbs, it was never a problem or flooding. Once, possibly twice a year, heavy rains, cool, whatever. Now it's every time it rains, like Lynn was saying, half-inch water flows out of that pond for about 7 days after a rain. Half my backyard is always underwater and soupy muddy, so I can't mow it, I can't do anything with it. Used to have a fire pit or park my trailer there. It's useless now. That's all I've got.
That's it for public comment. Again, it's not falling on deaf ears. It's just that we're not set up to just answer each individual response. But thank you for your comments. We'll move on to our reports. We're going to do one report now. Are we ready to, or do you want to do?
Make a motion for reports.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we go through our report, approve our reports.
Second.
So moved. All right, we'll move on to new business. I was thinking that we're getting ready to look at the presentations. My fault, my apologies. Looks like the nominations for chair and vice chair, their 1-year terms are up. I'll entertain a nomination for chair and vice chair. Anybody have a motion for the new chair? Can I nominate somebody?
You're part of the board.
I don't know if it'd be fair, but I'll entertain a nomination.
For yourself?
I'll nominate Isaiah. You should have nominated me. Make a motion to nominate Isaiah for chair.
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Vice Chair?
I'll nominate Regis.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, now current stormwater projects.
Okay. All right, with the public comment, this meeting, I kept this kind of short and sweet. Actually, about half of you that spoke are probably listed in here, so we'll just try to keep this short and sweet. There we go. All right, the highlights, just the highlights, I'll update you on the MS4 permit, a little bit of public outreach, the May flooding, some construction maintenance we're doing, some city maintenance we're doing, some of the ongoing concerns that we have, and some engineering issues that we have to look at long term. The MS4, we had a full audit done on May 30th. It went well. We seemed to be in compliance. It was very, very helpful. That was TDEC that came over and reviewed our program. We'll get a report on that probably in a week or two, but our MS4 permit is in compliance and we're moving in the right direction. So, and got some real good feedback from the state on that. Yes?
What is the MS4 permit?
It is a municipal storm sewer, separate storm sewer permit. It's basically the state issues a permit to the city for the NPDES stormwater regulations, which is National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. Basically, you have the Clean Water Act, which says waters have to be clean. The EPA handles the Clean Water Act, and they delegate that to TDEC, which is Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, and they delegate that to the MS4, the White House MS4, which is us. So it's how we handle stormwater. Also real quick, Keith Anglin, welcome, our new stormwater maintenance worker. He just started last week, so welcome to him. Chris, we already know you're going. That's something that'll be on the next stormwater meeting. We're going to need an operator to replace Mr. Chris Keith as well, so that'll be a priority in the next few months. We've got about 33 active permits and about 17 that are under review or in discussions. We've completed nearly 1,500 inspections this year. In May, we had approximately 150 concerns that the people that contacted the office with flooding issues and culverts. A lot of debris got moved around. We'll touch on the May flooding a little bit more. Right now, we've got 24 active drainage projects going on, and that's just basically trying to clean up from the May storms, you know, cleaning culverts, repairing ditches and washouts, and those are just the primary ones. There's more to come there. That's not a comprehensive list. That's a living list. It keeps getting bigger every day. The CIP, the capital improvement project at Apache Trail, salamander restriction has been lifted, so they should be getting started, I think, in a couple of weeks to get the water line moved and finish those box culverts there.
June 24th is the anticipated
Start June 24th, okay.
Will they close that down again to block, are they gonna block it off again?
They probably. Those box culverts are big and they require a huge piece of equipment to move them. So we'll try to limit that obviously as much as we can and try to notice people. And long-term maintenance agreements are due this month for those people that have them. That's actually going to probably be a big, a lot of work to do on that, follow up on these. A lot of people recorded them, signed them, executed them, and forgot about the annual report requirements. So we'll have a lot of follow-up to do. All of these developments and HOAs and things like that, when they finish, they have to maintain the stormwater system and report to us. So we'll be tracking them down to try to get people in the habit of submitting those annual reports. Some of the public outreach. Cleanup day was a big hit. We collected over 1,000 pounds of garbage. Had about, we had 70 some volunteers sign up for that, picking up trash around the city. It was real successful. Early in July is the Urban 5K runoff. That's in Nashville. We partner with Tennessee Stormwater Association, and pretty much every stormwater department in Middle Tennessee has a booth down there. So this year, Sonny the Salamander from the City of Lighthouse will be in attendance. They were looking for a mascot, so our Sonny the Salamander will attend. And of course, Americana's coming up early first week in July then also. So, and we'll have more on that, but we'll be helping out with that. All right, the May flooding statistics. I think really the biggest thing to focus on is in the bottom right corner. You see that gray mass that's centered right over top of White House. That represents just a radar estimate of about 8 inches. That was on May 8th at 10 p.m. So I've heard as much as 9 inches and sometimes 10 inches in rain gauges from that one event on May 8th and May 9th. We had, probably 9 inches of rainfall. And on that top right graph, you can see that the average is the brown line. That's the average rainfall for the month of May. You can see early in the month where it jumped right up. We got, we were at over 10 inches after May 9th. And then again at the end of the month, we got another big surge of almost another 10 inches that ended the month for us. So as you can see, everything above that brown line is water that is not expected or unusual or extreme. We basically got 1/3 of our annual rainfall in 3 weeks. So the graphs on the right represent the frequency and intensity. Basically, that first storm was about a 500-year storm event. It's supposed to only happen once in every 500 years, but I think we had a similar one in 2010. So those frequencies were above average, and it seems to be changing. So. But regardless, you can see all that green above the brown line in the top right graph was water that was normally not received. So it was a lot. Some construction maintenance. Some of you will probably see, your stuff out there. Volunteer. These are construction sites that, and this is not an all-inclusive list. This is just some of the more recent ones. So if you don't see your address on here, that doesn't mean that it's not on the list. Like Hobbs, or, Hillwood, you'll see yours, I've got you in the ongoing list, along with Hobbs Drive, I've got you on the ongoing list. But, you can see Jackson Farms, Volunteer Drive, just some muddy water there. Bridle Creek, same thing, muddy water there. So we're working with all of these projects to button this up and, do everything possible to prevent that from happening. Try to store it on site. None of that was set up to handle what we got, but we're trying to remedy that in the event, because it keeps happening. So we're beefing everything up. City maintenance, some of the stuff that the city was doing. North Palmer's Chapel, you can see where the driveway washed out. That was on city property near the Greenway. We had to repair that culvert. Sioux Court had a lot of flooding. That's the Winchester area, and that's also near, was it Hickory? Yeah, Hickory area. We've done some drainage work in there, trying to improve the ditches and flows a little bit there. The water recedes real fast, but
can I ask a question about that?
What?
I reside on Creekwood Drive, and absolutely nothing has been done for my property. And that is Covington Heights, Knollwood.
I think that may have been a miscommunication there. Sioux Court exists in the Indian Ridge subdivision. So Creekwood is around Louise and that area, and we do have that on the list as well. I just think that was a miscommunication there, that's all. But we are aware of that issue as well.
Yeah, Louise, we looked at today. We did some work over in the moment, but we're looking at Louise.
Louise and Creekwood Drive?
All of it. That whole watershed area is all inclusive.
Okay, I can vouch, I've been there 27 years at my residence. This is the worst it's ever been, ever. In 27 years, something different, something has changed.
And the flooding from our neighborhood is what flooded the high school.
Okay, well, like I said, this is not a comprehensive list. There's a lot of ongoing projects right now, and we're not just looking at a specific house, we're looking at an area. Typically, a house that has a problem isn't necessarily right at the house, it's 2 houses down or the next street over. So there's a lot of maintenance work that's being done, what we can.
Anyone else from Creekwood Drive is here, but I represent every house.
Okay, and that one's on the list. We're looking into that one.
I came to you guys 10 years ago.
I was not here 10 years ago.
I know you weren't.
But we had a child in Franklin, Tennessee die in a culvert in Stormwater. I got 3 reasons right here why I want it fixed.
I understand, and like I said, we'll be looking into that.
And why, may I ask, did you not take care of the drainage issues before you ever put the apartments in? I gave you permission to go through my yard, and now you ruined my yard and you're ruining my house, and you won't do anything about it. You have just done nothing.
We did the work.
For a year and a half.
Once they had the outfall in place and we knew where it was going to go, then that's when we did the work.
I also vouch for Paige Crump as a lifelong citizen and my family residence at Hillwood Drive. I've seen what's happened.
Yes, and what I'd like to say to that, Ms. Cronky, is that we did not anticipate, nor anybody could have anticipated, that the pond discharge structure would leak, which is what is occurring over there. And we are already...
Okay, so you're saying that it's occurring, so are you going to fix the ductwork and everything under my house?
We have already gone over there and discussed on site last week.
I know, I got
Mr.
pictures
Grimes
of
was
that,
there.
but you've been over there and discussed it multiple times and nothing's been done.
And that's because
So
they
move the
can't...
ditch somewhere else.
They
Get it out
can't...
of my yard. Because this has been going on for a year and a half, and y'all ain't done nothing. Not a thing.
We're unable to get them in there right now because of the ground is being so
Oh,
soft.
because it's
They
wet.
would make things so much worse. That's exactly right. Yes,
All
ma'am.
he says is, oh, I remember when it rained 3 inches. Well, I've been in that house since the 60s. And it rained 3 inches since the 60s. It's rained 8 inches since the 60s.
And we're doing
And my house wasn't good.
we're doing everything in our power right now, man. We are aware of the issues and we're working towards resolutions on
And
them.
in the meantime, what are you gonna do about my house?
Well, we did dig a ditch over there to make sure that the water stays away from your house.
That's part of the problem, it will not accommodate.
Can't even mow the yard.
And part of the problem is when people have established homeowners insurance, and I work in insurance, and that's why I know this. When you have established home insurance, and you don't have flood insurance because flooding was never an issue, and then you go to try to add flooding, they cancel your policy.
I think the
Hey, you
big
got your
point
apartment.
that everybody's trying to make is you all keep going back to this big historical rainstorm that we had. This is not just that rainstorm that's the problem.
No, your
So
problem
stop bringing that up,
and the
like
Hillwood
that's the
problem.
reason it was an issue, because there were issues since then, and there was issues before that. But
Yeah.
now that there was a rainstorm, everybody keeps saying, well, that was historic, it'll never happen again.
But we
It's
haven't
been a problem before that.
heard complaints until this rain event. That's why everyone is here in this room.
Hey guys, hey, we're gonna be simple. Hey, we're gonna be simple. This isn't
But
a.
let's not say silly things. We
No,
have
I'm just saying
silly things.
well before that.
Hang on a
I'm
second.
standing in my backyard.
Hey, we don't typically have a stormwater meet, and we're giving you guys opportunities
Well, I
to.
understand that.
We're gonna give opportunity for discussion. This is, I think it's a healthy discussion. I just wanna like one person at a time.
Where the frustration lies, because that's all we've been hearing is about this big storm. This big storm just brought the attention to your guys' issue, but we've been trying to get people's attention since well before that. And if the storm hadn't happened, we probably wouldn't even be here. But none of us would be happy.
Mr. Clark, if I may, I know people in my neighborhood have been in contact with various cities, people for over 2 years. So the May rain that fell this is canceled on what took place due. The problem is there. Where I see it is that a plan was approved for the apartments. Where the land, Randy, water used to drain off in every direction. That was a ridgetop property, and it ran west, it ran north, it ran south. But now the plan that has been implemented takes it all to the north property line and discharges it through these people's property, my property. And the pond number 3 was supposed to function as a detention basin and a distribution, and now it is a conversion pond that collects the water and diverts it to pond 2. If there had not been a need for pond 3, those people would not have built it. It needs to function on its own, and the water needs to go somewhere besides north. So, we've been talking, we've been trying to work, we've been civil for years, 2 years at least, 3. And we've still got the problem. All the rain that fell in May did was just make the water a little bit higher. We didn't have use of our property when the water's 6 inches deep. But when it gets a foot deep, we still don't have use of it. It's just a little harder to walk in. So thank you.
Mr. Red Hat.
Has the cul-de-sac at the end of Winchester off of Covington been addressed?
Yes, we're in discussion about that.
2 years ago, I ran a robotic camera through there. I'm a superintendent for a mechanical contractor that specializes in civil watershed. I ran a robotic camera through there 2 years ago and it was collapsed. About 27 foot deep. And I think I've still got some drive where I saved the video recording of it.
I would love to see that information. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
if you would, I'll give you my card after the meeting.
Please.
And I'll give it to you. You can email it over to me.
The problem that we have, I live at 209 Creekwood, next door neighbors. Our problem is that cul-de-sac at the end of Winchester. because nothing flows through it because it's collapsed.
Where specifically, sir?
Winchester Court off of Covington Bend.
No, I know that, but where specifically did you run the camera? Because there are a few places that are in question over there. Can you give me kind of a northing?
I'm trying to see what you've got on.
No, it'd be south of.
That's the culvert that cuts through the properties to Covington Bend.
So what you're viewing in that top left corner right there, that travels behind the property at 305 Covington Bend. So can you?
The cul-de-sac would be to the right that way.
Is that ours still? It comes down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's two drains.
This would be the opposite side of this red car. I'm looking at an aerial map. I can't see straight.
Yeah, the pipe at the end of the cul-de-sac dumps out
That goes
there,
under the asphalt.
and then goes that way.
And maybe what might be best is us to set up a meeting and discuss that with you in person, if
I mean,
you
I
have time.
counted it, it's 27 feet in, I could not get a robotic camera that's got a 1,000-foot cable on it.
Sure.
To go any further.
And the water gets so deep, it creates a wake.
Yeah. I mean, our problem on our end of the subdivision isn't necessarily the cul-de-sac in the middle of Creekwood. That's right between our two houses. It's like you said, it's 3-4 houses away in a cul-de-sac with a culvert that no longer functions. And even the one underneath Creekwood, same deal after the water went down this past time. I don't know if y'all actually physically gotten into the culvert and looked at it. The erosion is below the culvert. I would condemn it if I was sent out to, if my employer sent me out to a site saying, hey, we got a civil on this, we need an inspection, we need you to go do it, I'd condemn it. I wouldn't let cars pass it.
I'd just like to dovetail on that. Again, I go back to the original plan back in the late 90s of Covington Heights. I don't know why we didn't act earlier or what was said and done, but I just felt like, and for lack of a better term, there were some corners that were cut.
You know, back
If
then,
you know what I mean.
Mr. Thompson, I think back then, we didn't have MS4 permit requirements that we have today. So the newer subdivisions
But there
are
were
under
still
greater
codes.
regulations.
There were still codes and
Right.
requirements, for this many houses.
Yeah.
What is it, R15, what have you? You're required to have this type culvert size ditch.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If I'm
We
not
can
mistaken.
look at the construction documents if we have them to be able to look and see if they did the right size.
They're well under the current code.
They may be.
They're well
and,
sub current code.
Yeah.
And this has been a problem before the big May storm, sir. Just
True story.
Yeah.
27 years, it's increasingly gotten worse.
Mhm.
And I've been blown off by the city when I've come up here. And what's most frustrating is I know you guys have satellite imagery. You can actually go back and pull up 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Look at our subdivision. It was white capping through my property. And it got up to my foundation. It has never done that.
Yeah, it flooded 3 inches in the bottom of my house.
We've been involved in.
And we're ineligible for flood insurance.
Right. We understand that.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Okay, we live at 302 Gilwood. We've been there 42 years. We have had flooding issues there for years and years and years, from the pond up on 76, which we dealt with. But you all know that there's been flooding issues because you lost a city worker in a culvert there several years ago. He died going in to try to stop the culvert. Now we have, and your city policeman can verify this, the roads are closed. They closed the road at the end. We are at the very end of the 3-way stop there. There was a car that actually had to get up in our driveway and sit there until somebody could help get it out because the road down at the bottom is flooded, and if you go through, your car will not make it if you're in a small car, and you've got to be in a truck. We're flooded at 302 from the back, which goes into Randy's yard, and we're flooded in the front. And we've got pictures of our kids in thigh-high water down there. Our kids are adults in thigh-high water. And I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not just, we call, I've been calling for
Y'all send
years.
these guys out here and bless their heart, they try their best, and nothing gets fixed.
So it's been more than, it's
They
been 5
react
years I've
instead
been
of
calling.
proact.
10 years
So,
I've been calling.
When you say, well, this first we've heard, that's BS,
That's
man.
BS.
Y'all have had pictures, you've had videos, all of the Grimes and Randy and all of us, the Crunks that live right there for years and years. We begged you people to do something for us. We've sent you pictures, we've sent you videos, we've called. The police have to come and close our road, man.
I'd like
How
to-
much worse can it get?
I'd like to clarify there, I was meaning that I was unaware of the complaints. I am now the new Public Services Director. I took over in January. I was unaware of a lot of these complaints like Ms. Longwell, so I apologize. That is not what I intended. I wasn't trying to tell anybody that your problems are not actual problems. I'm here to try to help. I just was not aware of the complaints because I didn't take over in this position until just January. So I just want to clarify that, and I've got a whole page of notes here, and I'm here to help. We are willing to help you. What we are unable to do, and what is frustrating, is that we are unable to re-engineer subdivisions. What we currently have, we are willing to do whatever we can within our power to mitigate and re-ditch what currently exists, and work with the developers to fix things.
And everything comes down from the pond behind the police department.
Yes, sir.
And it's, yeah, private apartment, and it's really not as much about the apartments there,
Okay.
behind us, but bless his heart, he's the last house down in the hole, and he gets everybody's crap. And I mean,
I pulled rock out of my yard to
I
fill
mean,
this building up.
the road,
And it's
we
been like that
picked up
since
some asphalt
1995.
off the road the other day, where it washed the road out. I mean, so,
And the guy that got drowned, he was right there in the culvert, right there at Larry's house and my house.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't like, I didn't have that much water until they put the sewer through there, to be totally honest with you.
Hey, I'll give you guys a secret. There's an app on our website. If you, I mean, I'm sure some of you use that app, but if you go in, it's highly visible next to this guy, and if we don't respond, we probably would get in trouble for not responding. We take that serious, Alderman.
There's a lot of you need to be in trouble.
Hey, seriously though, if you feel
I'm
that,
serious too.
yeah, well, if you feel that,
Speak this drum since '91.
Responding and then doing nothing about it.
I mean, there has to be action taken. I
A
just encourage
response
them.
of, oh, yeah, I remember when it rained 3 inches, is not a response to me. That's not solving the problem. That's
That's fair.
covering your butt, I guess.
That's fair. But, yes,
Is
ma'am.
there a better reporting system that we can go to make sure that everything we have, all our concerns are seen, heard, reported?
I think that application, the app that I just mentioned, I think that's probably your best bet.
Does that work for y'all?
Yes, absolutely. Because it actually assigns, whenever you submit a request, it assigns a due date to it automatically. So then if we don't respond quickly enough, then it shows up as an overdue request on our end, meaning that we have to take action to it. So yes, that helps us to track these things, but I will tell you that, you know, there are a lot of complaints, as you well know, and
Sounds like y'all are really, really far behind on it.
I mean, I'll be truthful with you.
I'm not surprised.
We are.
This issue, like everybody said, for 2 years, so.
Yeah, we are pretty far behind, but that doesn't mean that we're not actively working on it every day. And we're working with the developers the best that we possibly can, and making them reevaluate situations, and we're meeting with homeowners. I've been on the phone with aldermen, multiple different aldermen about multiple different cases. Yes, I showed up and spoke to you, and I have your email still from your videos, things like that. So, I mean, it is absolutely not falling on deaf ears by any stretch of the imagination. We do have to work through them as quickly as we can.
Just the worst thing to hear is that you talk to 2 different people, you get somebody telling you, yeah, we're gonna work for you. I've heard people say exactly what you're saying, and I believed them. And then to be told, when you're not in front of me, it's your problem, we can't do anything, you gotta deal with it. That's pretty disheartening to hear from somebody that you actually thought was on your side and was gonna do something to try to help you. So forgive me if I take that with a huge grain of salt, because I have an email that says that it's my problem.
I don't want to speak for him, but I think if you schedule a meeting with our city manager to address that, not to put put him on the hot seat, but I think that we shouldn't be responding to you like that is my point. Anybody from the city should be, at least, yeah, we should at least have a way to yeah.
I think we can all agree as citizens of White House that it's kind of disheartening to come up here and try to see if we can get our concerns met and getting talked to by a bunch of politicians. We don't feel seen when we hear politicians talk to us. We feel disregarded. So coming up here might not have done us any good mentally talking to you guys because you couldn't respond, you're not equipped to respond, but when it comes down to it, you come up to our house, you talk to us like human beings, we'll probably take it a lot more trustworthy than talking to us with all these and trying to put excuses on it. If you don't know, just tell us. Yeah. Just say you don't know. And if we can go after somebody else,
I'm gonna say something at this point. I think that, you know, not a lot of you aren't, you may not take this correctly, but the Stormwater Department, when we developed that after MS4 permitting, has done a tremendous amount of improvements around the city over the last 7, 8 years. They documented every quarter we come in here, we have a stormwater meeting, we don't have people come in. The main purpose of the stormwater committee was set up so that we could look at businesses that were wanting to try to get credits for improvements that they were making on their properties. But we've expanded it and allowed this, you know, the residents come in and talk, but we don't have residents come in and talk about complaints. So, and we have made, our priority, my priority has been all these years, is if you're getting water in your home, we're gonna try to do what we can to fix it. So they've been remedying issues all around the city, especially with those. We've done a really good job, but we weren't getting any water in people's homes in the last couple of years. Now, this rain flood, which, you know, I know it's hard to accept it, but we did have a large volume of rain. It was almost like a tornado coming through or a hurricane coming through a city. That's how much water we received for that event, which caused a lot of flooding. So that's why we're letting you all come here and tell us about what your issues are. We're documenting, like I said, they had 150 complaints in May. We are scrambling to trying to get to the highest priority projects first, and we're going to keep working our way through the summer. It's just like anytime a city has a major disaster, emergency situation comes through the city, it takes time to rebuild. So we're going to have to go in and correct these. Now we can say growth is part of it. We know it is. Growth is part of it. And we have inspectors that go out and inspect these sites on a regular basis, checking them, making sure that they're following your stormwater regulations. We put notices on these developers to stop action if we find violations, which we do that on a regular basis. So I know it's challenging, and I've been flooded myself, so I know what it's like to be flooded. I don't enjoy it. You know, I had to locate out of my home too for 2 or 3 months while my house was fixed. It's just, it's something that we're trying to help you with. We understand it. We have empathy. I apologize if somebody came across and said something that didn't sound right to you, that was kind of offensive. We'll address that internally. I definitely will address that. But I want to make sure that you all know we're trying to do the best we can. Those that have water in their houses are our highest priority. We will do what we can. It sounds like the Hill, which I'm listening to 2 different stories there. And obviously, and I was there, I was at that site when John was trapped inside that culvert, couldn't get out. I was there as a police chief at the time. So I get what's going on. We've been getting water there for years. It was way before the apartments went in. We understand that with the apartments, and then you add 8 inches of water, they're telling me in a very short amount of period of time, that's why you got so much water. I get that. We got to find a way to improve your area. We just have to do that.
8 inches, though.
Yes, I get that, but not at the level that not at the level that we just recently seen.
The pictures I gave you
Yes,
was
ma'am.
a foot underneath my house.
I get
and
that.
that was way before the 8 inches.
I get that totally. You're
And
getting
why
water.
didn't you do a stop order on the apartments if you said you stop it?
I'm not sure if they've done that yet. I haven't checked to see if they did that yet or not. But these guys are working aggressively with these developers to try to make the improvements that are there. I mean, literally, we've seen stuff that was approved from years ago that are questionable. Like you said, did they put the right size culverts in? We have a house that was actually put in a cow pond. They filled it in, put the house there, and when the storms came, they've been flooded 5 times, and the water just circulates around their house. And I'm like, why would that ever have been approved back in the early 2000s? But it was. So, you know, we're trying to mitigate wherever we can. We did buy a house. We bought a house in a flood zone area so that we could take it down and try to create an improvement there. It seemed to hold up for a while, but now that's even having a problem with all this rain. We're dealing with that. We're trying to make more improvements. We have a limited amount of money, resources that we have, that we can purchase properties and that are in highly flooded areas and try to mitigate those and remove it. Some people don't want to move from their homes, and then prices obviously in our subdivisions have gone up tremendously. So I know that we're doing everything we can. We're doing everything we can in the new subdivisions to do what we can. And like you said, back there, I don't know, your name Randy or what in the back there. I know that you're talking about water that you said maybe came in when they put the sanitary sewer line in there. I'm not sure, maybe that's where you're getting some of your water. But you also, you have to look at some areas, people will move next to a creek because it looks nice and pretty, but when it floods, it's all of a sudden not a pretty creek to be next to. Those are issues that when you live close to a creek or you live downhill where all the water's flowing to, I mean, you got to understand, there's water's going to go somewhere and it's going to flow and it's going to go down. It's going to go downward and head to the creeks and that. So it's an unfortunate circumstances for all of us. All of you here, I mean, like I said, we've never had this type of crowd at a Stormwater Advisory Board meeting, never. And so I know that what happened is a result of a large volume of rain. Even though you may have had issues, not at the level that you had to deal with it recently. And that water dissipated fairly quickly. None of you probably have water in your houses at this point. I would hope not. But it's dissipating quickly. So we know that it's flowing. We know we're making improvements. And we're going to try to address every issue that you have the best we possibly can. I know sometimes we're limited because we don't have easements. Sometimes people put fences on easements and in waterways over our wastewater piping. And so we have to deal with those. Do we have a right? We have to have sign-offs to allow us to be on your properties if we don't have easements and right-of-ways on your property. So I wanted you all to come in here and vent today. And I told them I need you to do that because I know how I felt when I was flooded. Short of somebody getting their house on fire, that's a really bad situation. Flooding is right behind it as far as that goes. We lose a lot. So we're going to try to do everything we can in our power and within the resources that we have available to help you all with your properties. And I apologize for any of you that felt offended. You felt like nothing's been done because we have been in Covington Bend years ago. We've made improvements in there several years ago when Joe Moss was here. I know we did. We've improved wastewater issues, but we still have some other issues. We do know that there's possibly some piping that was put in by a homeowner, which is creating a problem over there. Do we go in there and rip out their fence and rip out their yard and say, hey, you get the wrong side, you shouldn't even put a pipe there, should have been a ditch line. So these are the type of things we're looking into to see how do we resolve that. So trust me, I don't know, I feel bad for every single one of you. I understand it, and let my staff try to get through this report and let them finish up. Normally they tell us about all the improvements that they've been making, but I know that Mike has been so overwhelmed with having 150 complaints. I'm just hoping he doesn't run back to Florida with a hurricane because he's trying to do the best he can to handle these complaints. And so sometimes if they feel frustrated, I apologize, but they're feeling frustrated, and sometimes that frustration may come out in an email. It shouldn't. If it's not professional, I need to know that. But let them do their work. Yes, ma'am.
I'm finished, but I want to ask
Go ahead.
question
Yes, ma'am.
to you, because I know you're the one that can answer this.
Mm-hmm.
Me, that people in this room know I was a planning director for Rockland County for 38 years. When you just said you would do all you could with your resources, and I know you're limited, would we qualify for any type of grant to help the city of White House to help these people? Is that logical?
Well, obviously we're looking into that. One time we were able to get a TEMA grant to help purchase a property. I've asked them to check into that to see if that's a possibility too, because some areas we need to make improvements, or some areas you probably shouldn't have your house there. You probably shouldn't have been built there. So we will try to do that. We have made reports with Sumner County who applied for some federal funding. Sometimes that takes a long time. When we had the flood of 2010, I know FEMA came up here and we had some issues that we had to correct, and we got some money for that. But we always are looking for grant money, and if it's available, we will try to do the best we can to get that as best we can. Right.
And if I can comment on that just very quickly, just this past week, the tail end of last week, I reached out to TEMA. I spoke to FEMA first, and then I was transferred and told to speak to TEMA. And I called them, sent an email as well to speak about what is available to us. And I haven't yet heard back, but I do want you to know that we are looking into all avenues. Mr. Herman has tasked the Stormwater Division with that, and the responsibility rests on my shoulders since I'm the Director of Public Services, so.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I
That
mean,
is a possibility.
we're just,
Okay,
we are evaluating all aspects.
thank you.
All right, do we have any other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.